Welcome to these little approach videos. It's our hope, I think, that as we approach Easter, we'll walk with Jesus as he approaches his death and resurrection, the culmination of everything that he has come to earth to do. And so we start off this first approach meditation with Jesus being arrested. So let me read to you from John chapter 18, this is verses 1 to 11. When he had finished praying, Jesus left with his disciples and crossed the Kidron Valley. On the other side there was an olive grove, and he and his disciples went into it. Now Judas, who betrayed him, knew the place, because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So Judas came to the grove, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen to him, went out and asked them, "Who is it you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said. And Judas the traitor was standing there with them. When Jesus said, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. Again he asked them, "Who is it you want?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." "I told you that I am he," Jesus answered. "If you are looking for me, then let these men go." This happened so that the words he had spoken would be fulfilled. "I have not lost one of those you gave me." Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Jesus commanded Peter, "Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me?" This is an astonishing story for a few reasons. Jesus has just been praying for his disciples, and also wonderfully he's been praying for us, for all who will come after. And he's been talking to his Father and talking about how praying that we would be one as he and his Father are one. And then they've had the Last Supper in the upper room. Jesus has left to go and betray him, which Jesus knows well is what he's doing. And then they come over to this olive grove just outside Jerusalem. Now, Judas brings the chief priests, the ones who really want Jesus dead, and they have with them a detachment of soldiers. And a detachment means probably 200 tough, armed Roman soldiers. We need to remember that for what happens next. They're carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons because clearly they expect some resistance. They're coming to arrest what they see as a rebel, someone who's concocting an uprising, and also a dangerous religious fanatic who has been telling people blasphemous things about who he is and about who God is. And so they expect some resistance. They're expecting Jesus to probably lead a fight here, or at the very least for his disciples to fight back. And they're not mistaken in that, as we see with what Peter does. So they arrive to arrest Jesus with all these soldiers, a crowd of over 200 and all these soldiers. Now Jesus, verse 4, Jesus, knowing all that was going to happen to him, went out. Jesus knows, because at this point his divine nature has just kind of, risen up to the point where, as happens frequently throughout his life that we have recorded, where he can just see things, he can know things that are over and above what his human nature can see and know. And he knows the betrayal, he knows the suffering, he knows, because it's the plan that he and the Father had all along, that he's going to rescue humanity by dying, and not just dying a physical death with all the torture, but dying and being forsaken by his Father, taking the weight of all of the sin, all of the wrongness, all the brokenness of the world, taking it all on himself. He knows this is going to be unspeakable. If if any of us had a glimpse of even a fraction of that horrific future, we would run, or we would just go mad with fear and terror. Jesus, though, stands. He stands. And not only that, he goes out. He goes out to meet these people. All the way through, he's been heading towards Jerusalem. He's been resolutely setting his face towards Jerusalem, knowing that that is where his doom awaits him. And here, he just calmly, seems just as cool as a cucumber, out he goes to meet these people who've come for him. And then we have this amazing event. Jesus asks a question. Now, first of all, it's typical Jesus that he asks a question. He is the master of a well-placed question. You know, when people have tried to trip him up, he just replies with a question. You know, it's wonderful. He is a master of logic and of just the clever reply that reveals people's hearts. But here he comes out and he asks what seems to be a pretty obvious question. Who is it you want? Jesus of Nazareth, they replied. And then Jesus says something incredible. He says, in Greek he says, ego eimi, I am. We have the I am he in our English translation just to make it grammatically correct. But really, he is saying, I am. And what is I am? I am is what God said out of the burning bush when Moses asked, who shall I say to Pharaoh has sent me? In other words, who are you, God? And God simply says, I am. Jesus has previously said, you know, to his, when he was being challenged, you know, he said, I tell you the truth, before Abraham was, I am. And they picked up stones to kill him at that point because he was saying, I'm telling you, I am God. And here he says this. Now, but he's not telling them this here to teach them something. He's doing something more than that. Tim Keller describes this moment, and I love the phrase he uses just in passing. He says, Jesus flexes a little bit. His divine power that is there, he just flexes his muscles, spiritually speaking, a tiny bit, and a little chink of his power comes through as he says the name of God that is who he is. He just lets that through. And what happens? Jesus said, I am. They drew back and fell to the ground. Jesus is on his feet here because he is in control. Everything that is about to happen, everything that's coming his way, he is in control. These people, they're not. He only needs to let the tiniest glimpse of who he is come through, of his power, and they are flattened. These tough Roman soldiers, they're flattened. So he gives them another chance. He's very sporting, is Jesus. And he says, who is it you want? Let's try this again. I've just flexed a little bit. I've just shown you what you're dealing with. I've just shown you that I am in control. Just to make it quite clear here. As a wonderful song puts it, they did not take his life, he laid it down. Jesus is going willingly through this. And so he gives them another chance. They say, Jesus of Nazareth, and he says, I've told you that I am he. And then what does he do? Jesus looks after his friends. He has all this power. He doesn't use it for it to protect himself. He willingly goes to where he is going to go to die. But he takes this opportunity to protect his friends. These followers are not massively deserving of this, after all. They've misunderstood him. They have not really got the gospel or his message. They've tried to take things into their own hands and messed up lots. And also they've just been falling asleep while he was praying. And they haven't joined him in his agonizing anticipation of what's to come. But here, Jesus takes care of his friends. It would have been expected that they would have been arrested along with him because they are his followers, and here they are with him. But he says, don't take them, just take me. If you're looking for me, then let these men go. And he's just been praying about that, and so the words he's just been praying have been fulfilled. And then Peter, good old Peter, who just never seems to quite get it, and yet Jesus restores him so wonderfully later. Peter just takes this moment, he's had enough. Peter's a man of action, not words. So he takes out his sword and he goes to kill Malchus. We'll probably know his name here because Malchus is likely one of the eyewitnesses. That's the reason why a name would be put in like this. He's one of the eyewitnesses that told this story to John to be, to later, so it could be recorded. His name's included so people know, oh, that's Malchus. Oh, he was the guy who was there, right? Peter decides he's had enough, so he takes out his sword, he goes to chop Malchus's head in two, most likely. He wouldn't have been aiming for the ear, that would have been weird. He goes to chop him, Malchus dodges, the ear comes down, sliced off. We're told in the other Gospels that Jesus immediately touches it and heals it, and just turns to Peter and says, this is not the way. Peter, you've just not got the gospel. The good news is that I am going to die. This is all meant to happen. And did you not just see me flatten the crowd? I'm in control here. You don't need to do this, Peter. Put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? And then the story unfolds, as we'll see in the next few days. What is so helpful and encouraging, I think, in this uncertain time where we are right now, where there is a constant feeling of nothing, no one's in control of this. The economy is in free fall. We don't know how long this epidemic, this pandemic will last for. We don't know what's going to happen to our loved ones. We don't know what's going to happen to our work, to our incomes, all these sorts of things. Well, Jesus is almighty, all-powerful, and he's in control. And I might just add on to that, he's real. He's in his body right now. If it helps to think of it, he's in his body right now, but in another dimension. He's coming back to our dimension. Could be any day. And he's coming back for his friends. He's coming back to get the ones that he looked after here. Because Jesus uses his power to protect and care for and look after his friends. If we are his friends now, he's looking after us. He is still as all-powerful as that moment where he just said, I am, and flattened them. And he is just as much in control and just as much caring for us as he was when he made sure that his friends were not arrested along with him. This is the King we serve. This is the King we are honoured to know and be loved by. This is King Jesus. And as we approach Easter, as we approach that moment of glorious celebration where we remember his rising from the dead and beating death at death's own game, to quote another song, then this is the encouragement for us. Jesus is in control. Let's pray. Jesus, we are excited and in awe and perhaps sometimes terrified when we see your power displayed like in this incident. We ask, Jesus, that you would just show your power in our days, show your power in our lives. Lead us back to you in everything that we do. Jesus, would you help us to know how true it is that you are almighty and that you are looking after us? Would you help us to see how your salvation is real? Would you help us to feel that every day? Give us boldness to share that with others. And most of all, though, may we just know you more, Jesus. May we know you more and serve you better. And as we come up through these days of Holy Week, please don't let us be distracted by all that's going on in the world. Please help us to lean on you, to trust you more, to serve you better, to be not afraid of anything because we know that you are in control. Thank you, Jesus, that this is real, that you are real, and that we can trust you. Amen.